Here it is clearly visible, sir.
Okay.
Okay. The session is online now.
Okay. Are there enough number of people for us to get started? Because if you are replying to any of the earlier questions, yeah, there are about 5 people.
You can start, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, all the students or participants in the NET course. Well, we are happy to interact with you. We received a few questions. We'll try to answer them first. After that, we will take questions directly from any of you. So the first query, I would appreciate your guidance on some aspects of newly introduced NBA SAR. Okay, just a minute. Let me. Changes in program outcomes and mapping with the WKs. The number of POs has been reduced from 12 to 11, and these are now mapped with WKs. How will this affect the mapping of courses and COs compared to the previous NBA SAR? Do we need to map courses and COs with both WKs and POs? First thing is, yes, now the SAR has been changed about a month ago for the tier 1 institutions. For tier 2 institutions, the new SAR format hasn't yet come, but it is likely to come within a few weeks. So, those institutions which are going to submit after January 1st will have to follow the new SAR. Those who have already submitted earlier, prior to January 1st, they will be evaluated or they will be as per accreditation in the old format. Okay, that is the first thing that you need to know. Then the other one is, yes, the number of POs has been reduced from 12 to 11. This has been on cards for quite some time and it has been completed. The POs remain, the wording of all the other ones remain the same, except that as per the Washington Accord, where these WKs have come from, they also kind of associate WKs with each PO, except for 3 POs or 4 POs, they already put WKs. Okay, so what happens is when you write a CO, we need to tell you PO, each PO, if you look at, as we have explained in the NET course, that it has several activities implied in the statement itself. And whenever you write a CO, you are not addressing all of them, but you are addressing a subset of that. In the same way, you will also be addressing a subset of WKs associated with that PO. That is the one thing that you need to remember. And now, when you write, we have given one format for writing COs, and which have to say which PO, PSO it is addressing, and also the knowledge category and the cognitive level and the number of sessions. Now you have to add another column to that, WK. for the completion. When you submit as per the SAR, you have to indicate that. Okay, that is the first part of the question.
Sir, can I just add one small
Yeah,
statement?
please.
So what I was saying is, sir is saying they already have associated the WKs with the POs. So what essentially we are trying to say is that which are the specific WKs that this particular CO is addressing. But if you look at the SAR as such remains the same. That is, we are doing a mapping only from COs to POs and PSOs. So the mapping is only to POs and PSOs. The relationship between the COs and WKs is for our understanding and for our computation later explanation and all. But actually in the SCR, our mapping is only to COs and POs and PSOs. So the table more or less remains the same, except that we will have to demonstrate to which WKs they are mapping when you give the explanation. Okay, so that way there is not much change in terms of the mapping that we do. Okay, so compared to the previous SCR, there is not much change that we do except with respect to the explanation that we are doing it. Sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay, thank you. The next part is term work and self-learning hours. The new SAR introduces teamwork and self-learning hours. Could you explain their implementation and importance? Term work includes activities such as assignments, seminars, micro-projects, industrial visits, and other student engagements, while self-learning covers MOOCs, spoken tutorials, online educational resources. Are these activities part of continuous assessment or are they considered separately? Will self-learning hours have higher weightage in continuous assessment compared to regular assessment tasks? Okay, so the one major change that is coming in the new SAR or by the NBA, that a course is now characterized by 4 elements. Earlier we were talking of LTP, lectures, the tutorials and the practicals. Now a fourth item is added, which is teamwork and self-learning. Okay, so now each course has all the 4 elements. Of course, every course will not have all the 4 elements. It depends on the course that you have. Okay, it may be 2:1:0, or earlier one, there may not be any practical, there is only a tutorial and so on. But what is now comes out is that the total number of hours, if you add all of them, whatever features that you have, if you add all of them and divide by the number of credits associated with that, that should not be more than 30. And what it means is 30 hours per semester of the student's work is considered equivalent to 1 credit. Okay, I hope I made myself clear that 30 hours of work by the student, whether in the classroom or in the lab or in the tutorial or the teamwork self-learning hours, all put together, 30 hours in a semester constitutes 1 credit now. That is how it is redefined. But still, if you look at, let's say, take a 3 credit course, 3:0:0. We still go by 15 weeks of teaching, which means there are 3 hours per week lecturing. That means 45 hours of lectures. And then the remaining ones, that is out of 90, if you remove 45 hours of work the student will do through either teamwork or self-learning hours. Okay, that is an example. but each course may have a different set of credits and so on. And that is the work. Now they themselves have defined the teamwork includes activities such as assignments. Assignments could be group assignments or individual assignments. You have seminars, micro projects, industrial visits, other students' engagement. Self-learning, as they have defined, MOOCs, spoken tutorials, and online educational resources, whichever way that you want, whatever you want to use. And they are not part of continuous assessment. Assessment is different. These are all related to the curriculum and the instruction. Okay. Because this definition of 30 hours per semester constitutes 1 credit will greatly influence the way you design your curriculum and the way you want to instruct. Because instruction will decide how many assignments, how many seminars, how many micro projects, whether you have team type of work like group assignments or what kind of like problem-based learning, project-based learning, all that is part of the instruction. So the new concept is that the 30 hours per semester constitutes 1 credit is the new thing that has come through the new SAR. Okay. They are not part of continuous assessment. Assessment is totally different activity. Now, Professor Rajnikant, do you want to add anything?
Nothing, sir. Just as sir has just mentioned, these two are two different things. And whether self-learning hours have a higher weightage and all, it all depends upon your assessment plan itself. How many tests and how you would like to assess, and then how you would like to align it with the course outcomes. All these things is part of your assessment strategy planning, which already we have discussed in the course also. So based on that, you do that. Now, only thing is that you have to take into account now that there is a component of self-learning by the students. So how do you assess that also? You have to plan. Other than that, this directly has no relationship with self-learning and assessment, as sir has mentioned. Only when you plan, you have to take into account the fact that now there is teamwork as well as self-learning. Teamwork earlier also was possible, but self-learning now is added. So when you plan your assessment, take that into account. Thank you.
Can we go to the next slide? Now, how these courses are useful. First of all, we are not very clear. How is NATE useful if you are asking? NATE, as it is offered now, will have to be updated, obviously, with all the details. But quite a bit of it is still valid, but the details will considerably differ. So we have to rework out many aspects of the NATE. Whereas NATE consists of broadly 3 parts. One is on the OBE, the other one is which also we include accreditation. The one part is instruction, the one part is assessment. Instruction and assessment will remain the same, practically the same. Once again, a few details can differ. But the other part, how do you write your now mapping, your COs, relationship between POs, PSOs, and all that will now certainly differ from what has been presented in the existing NATE course.
And the criteria in NBA, SAR also have changed. So the way you compute them, all those things will change. That is specifically the SAR related part will undergo substantial changes. Whereas the underlying the theory part of it, the process part of it, that all will remain same. But the specific details of how do we complete the SAR and what are the details in terms of the evaluation as per the SCR, that all is going to change. For example, still there is a process which is required to define the vision and mission, and that process continues to be valid even now. But the number of criteria, those things they change. Now instead of 10, there are only 9. The number marks allocated are different. Those things are all definitely different. So certain changes have to come in there, certainly. True.
Sir, do you want to take this question?
Yes, yes, sure, sir. This asks, I would like to know whether the weightage of split between CAE and SCE should be compulsorily based on the regulation for that batch scheme, or can it be decided by the IQAC? IQAC should not really decide the split between CAE and SCE, because that is part of the way the course is structured, and so that depends upon the regulations and how the curriculum is planned and all that. So the IKSA should only see the compliance of it. There should not be an arbitrary way of changing the split between CAE and ACE. That will depend upon, obviously, the regulations for that batch. In fact, from batch to batch also, there should not be too much difference between CAE and ACE. Okay, so there must be some kind of a logic based on which it is worked out, and we must adhere to that by and large throughout all batches. Okay, it's not for IQAC to decide it in any arbitrary fashion. Okay, then the next question is, we conduct workshops, expert lecture sessions to cover the curriculum gap and better CO-PO mapping. How these activities can be evaluated to justify the mapping and gap filling achieved? Presently, we take only participant feedback but do not evaluate it. Suggest what actions we can take in this regard. There are many. It depends upon what specific activities you have planned, what specific workshops, expert lectures are all being planned, and which are the gaps which are being addressed. But there are several things which are possible. You could design appropriate rubrics to evaluate the extent to which the gaps are being filled up. You can even design a separate assessment items if you are interested and if it is feasible to evaluate the extent to which the gaps are being addressed. But the minimum is the feedback. But there are several other activities possible to assess the extent to which the gaps are being addressed. This will not only help you to evaluate the extent to which gaps are being addressed, but also it will help in designing better activities the next semester when these gaps are being addressed. So it is better if we can design some additional activities, including, as I mentioned, rubrics or quizzes or some other kind of activities to do that. Of course, the minimum is the feedback, certainly. Yes, please. Next slide, if there is.
This is a new one. Can we have two course outcomes at the same Bloom's level? Certainly, there is no specification that each CO will have to have a different Bloom's level. We have noticed in some colleges, people are trying to make each CO at a different Bloom's level. No, there is no such requirements. The next one is the complex problem solving, PO1, PO2, PO3, and PO4 is not achieved in real sense in many engineering courses except in project. Then should it be mapped to a low level for other courses or not to be mapped at all? No, it's not very clear. First thing is, all these 4 POs talk about complex problem solving. But unfortunately, because of a long tradition, the way our courses have been designed, they never address complex problem solving. First of all, we don't even define what a complex problem is. So you cannot map them to very low level, the PO1, PO2, then that will not be right. See, if you look at PO, there are several activities as I just mentioned. You will address some of them at least. The only way the complex problems can be addressed is possibly to include a case study, explain what it is, why it is complex, and maybe you can have now that the new one requires that you have some self-learning and team type of work. You can incorporate one exercise of some kind that leads to understanding what a complex problem is. That can be done. Are there any sample courses discipline-wise listed by NBA for reference? Sample course outcomes.
No, sir, they have not listed any
They
sample.
are not listed. I don't think they should list either, in my opinion, because then it will become, many people feel that it becomes, you have to follow compulsorily. Even though they use the word sample, many times when it comes from UGC or AICTE, they take it as if that is the how we have to do. We have given in our document some sample course outcomes for a few courses. We can add more.
Please share material about how changes are made in current NBA criteria. Yes, sir. We will, sir was in fact planning to create an additional resource document which will be made available to the NPTEL people, to be made available to all the participants. But it will take some time perhaps, because you have to study the new SCR really closely and see what are all the points at which it makes a difference and what kind of changes need to be made in either the way the computations are done or in the way the process is implemented or any another fashion. But as already mentioned by sir in the beginning also, a vast majority of the material remains valid and same, but there are certainly changes in certain details which specifically with respect to the accreditation part. And regarding that, yes, one resource document will be made available. Apart from, of course, the SCR document itself, which itself is a very valid resource, useful resource. But apart from that, some kind of information probably would come through in some time. Sir?
Yes. Yeah, we are trying to persuade the NPTEL itself to allow us to design an alternate course for this to incorporate the new criteria, new SAR. Now, I request please incorporate the key points about the current NBA criteria in the current course. That would be difficult because we don't have time to design properly, and also it requires again recording. The whole process of recording and redesigning will take time. But
As we just now mentioned, we can make one small resource document available.
Yeah, that can be done. Else? So are there any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, any of you can type out the question. Unmute yourself and ask a question or type out. The current process is allowed till June end. That is not in our hands, sir. What they say is anyone who submits the document after January 1st will have to follow the new rules. That means you have to essentially push your date correspondingly of submission. And that you have to make it to the NBA itself to ask that question. They only can permit. You want to take this, Professor Rajnikant? I think you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. I actually just now muted. Yeah, it is related to actually NAC, and perhaps it is slightly beyond the purview of it. But anyway, NAC should be applicable to this system so that whether the teaching method in the college is working properly or not, whether the lab in the college is good or not, whether there is adequate arrangement of faculties in the college or not, whether the research field of the college is in proper form or not. NAC recognition should be obtained by looking deeply at the faculty development program, skills, etc. NAC should not be given to the college on the base of money so that the level of our education does not fall. This could be feasible if NAC conducts surprise visits instead of the scheduled visits. On the first point, there is absolutely zero difference. All of us do agree with whatever you are saying. Absolutely no doubt about it. But how the things happen, that is a different story. But we all do agree that uh, uh, certainly NAC should judge all these things. Based on that, it should award the whatever grade it awards. There is absolutely no difference. Now, whether that would be the way to achieve that would be surprise visit or not is a totally different story. It is related to several pragmatic issues regarding implementation, and I don't think I'm competent to answer that kind of a comment on that kind of a statement. But certainly, we all do agree that whether NAC or NBA or any other kind of accreditation or evaluation should be honest, transparent, and based on really the merit. That there is absolutely no difference at all. Okay.
But one comment, see the NAC in its purview, they have something like 40,000 institutions to take care of. You can imagine, and they are in all kinds of areas in India. Sometimes even going there, sending a committee itself will be very difficult. Logistics is stupendous. So even after saying it is compulsory, only a fraction of 40,000 colleges have actually applied for NAC accreditation or they're accredited. But they're trying to catch up, but then, as I said, the numbers are huge. Whereas with respect to NBA, it is something like 1/10 of it, about 4,000 institutions. 4,000 into about 5 or 6 programs, if you call it. That is the range for NBA. And one thing is, even in institutions or universities which offer all general programs like sciences, sociology, economics, and engineering together, the engineering part, it is better to follow the NBA accreditation mechanism, and that can be directly reported as a part of NAC, what do you call, equivalent of SAR.
Actually, instead of simply redesigning or tweaking the NAT course, what we were thinking was that probably we should really design a new set of programs, basically a suite of programs, which will cover not only the accreditation and the teaching, but also assessment in greater detail and instruction in greater detail and OBE in greater detail, making the whole thing more elaborate. In fact, Sir probably would like to comment more on that. So that is what we have been thinking for quite some time, just instead of trying to tweak NAT in a small way and or even a supplementary module. Instead of that, we were thinking of it. Sir would like to probably comment on that.
Yeah. Now that new SAR has come, we are, at least from our side, we are going to recommend to the NPTEL to withdraw both TAIL and NAT and replace by, we have made a proposal for 4 courses, which is like, we called it faculty induction program. And of course, people can take, if they take all the 4 courses, they may get a certificate. If they want to take individual courses, that should be permitted. So now we cannot resolve with the kind of changes that happening. You cannot just add a supplementary module. The whole resource documents will have to be reworked out. Because the change is happening after exactly 10 years after the first SAR was released, which was in 2015, now 2025. So 10 years, a change is occurring. Yes.
The next one, please. Pharmacy staff, how to develop rubrics. The subject matter does not have a lot of bearing on development of the rubrics. Essentially, rubrics is, as we mentioned in the course also, is a way of trying to develop a quantitative evaluation on aspects which are essentially qualitative. That is, if you are trying to look at a presentation and its quality, that is effectively a qualitative judgment, but you don't want it to be arbitrary, a random number being put. So can we turn that into some kind of quantitative attributes? So that is the basic idea, and that holds good even if the subject matter is related to pharmacy. Okay, so you can look at the examples and see how these rubrics are being developed. And in the course material, we also give references to certain sites which talk of these rubrics. Okay, so you can please go through that. Yeah, the next question.
Let me read. In the new NBA SAR, one point is to do the mapping, the industrial training and projects with PO, PSOs. How to do that? Do we need to map with individual student topics or with rubrics? It's not very clear, but we can say this. Industrial training will need and projects will have to be really lot more orchestrated than what it is being done. That means even before the project starts or the industrial training starts, you have to define the rubrics. Generally, for both of them, you got to have rubrics, and the weightage given to each one will have to be decided in advance. They don't have to be identical across all institutes. Each institute can experiment a little bit. Maybe if after a few iterations, you will come with a satisfactory thing. But the main thing is you have to define a rubric and inform the students prior to their project and industrial training. This is how you are going to be evaluated. And maybe for each element of that rubric, what is it that they should you are looking for can also be explained through a resource document. Okay. For example, in a project, you give some weightage, rubric will have one element related to the quality of the project report. Okay, if you have given, let us say, 20% weightage to the quality of the project report. In that case, what constitutes a good quality project report? You can prepare a resource document and share it with the students and explain to them so that they will actually write the report accordingly, not post facto judge them. Ask them to write a report and then judge, which will not be appropriate. That you can do. Okay, but you have to use rubrics. You want to take the next one, please?
This new SCR, as NBA is saying, to implement from January 2025. Yes, if you're applying for accreditation from January 1st, 2025, the SCR has to be as per the new format. But program schemes are already made for sessions 24-25. Do we need to make the changes in terms of POs or self-learning hours for batch 2025 to 26 or even for earlier batches? It would be very difficult to really implement it for earlier batches in one go for all batches because it takes time to really work out the curriculum redesigns and all that. So progressively, you should implement in the sense that for the first batch which is coming up in the current academic year, you can implement wholesale. The rest of it, you'll have to really work through. And the visiting team also is aware of this. So certainly they will take that into account because it will take time for all these changes to be done. Even curriculum from the lectures, tutorials, practicals, LTP scheme to the credit working out, all this will take time. So certainly it needs slow planning and it can be done for the subsequent batches in a gradual fashion. That is what we feel. Sir, you would like to add anything there?
Not necessary. No, thank you.
Yes, sir.
In criteria 9, there is more weightage to basic science faculty members compared to those who are teaching engineering courses. Does it mean first year more courses of basic sciences should be there, especially mathematics, as the example that they have shown in criteria 9, more hours are given to maths compared to physics and chemistry. The number of hours you are talking about is related to the number of credits associated with a course. How much weightage you want to give it to various science courses, maths courses, it depends on the curriculum design. And now there is no separate evaluation of first year academics in the new one. Because slowly what is happening is in first year also, each program is having some program specific courses into the first year part as well. So to that extent, the major change will be the way the first year planning is done in terms of timetables, in terms of calculations and all that. That will be completely is removed now practically because there is no first year academics separately shown. The remaining part of it is relation into maths, physics, chemistry, or it can be biology also. That is all depends on the curriculum design by the institute. Next one, please.
What is the starting month and ending month for a regular faculty in an academic year as per NBA norms? As you mentioned, academic year. Usually, typically, every university will define the academic calendar, which will include the starting month and ending month. And typically, it is June, July, August, one of these three to 1 year. Okay. So, the academic year. 2 semesters. That's what they are essentially saying. So 2 consecutive semesters with or without a break in between for a faculty to be considered. So essentially what the university or the autonomous institute within the restrictions defines as the academic year is the academic year, starting month and ending month for regular faculty. Even for contractual faculty, it is the same actually. Next, please. Is there going to be a revision in the NBA accreditation process from June 2025 onward? Already now they are defined, no, for any application which is made after 1st January 2025 is as per the new format. So the assessment, the process is going to be according to that. If someone has applied and depending upon when the team comes, that will be based on that. And of course, if someone has already applied according to the old format and that is in process, then the accreditation will also be based on that old process only. I hope that answers this question. I'm not very sure because of that. Yeah, next please. Yeah, in fact, the current process will hold good for all the previous applications. That is, applications made under the previous format, they all will be evaluated based on the old process only. Just is not the question of June end. It depends upon when the team visits and when the team comes for a visit. If the visit was based on the old SAR that the institute had already submitted, that will be the process followed. So it's just not the June end question. Okay. So the existing process will continue for quite some time, in fact, because there are many applications which are still pending and the teams have to visit and they have to be scheduled. So it will take time. Even the new application can be given as per the old SCR format till June end. That is not true, sir. Actually, if you are applying after January 1st, it has to be mandatorily as per the new form. Earlier year, that is when it was introduced in November and all that, they were permitted to apply as per the old scheme or the new scheme. But from January 1st, 2025, you have to necessarily apply according to the new format. At least that is what the present NBA website says. If there is any change, we need to look into that. At least today morning also I checked the NBA website. It says from January 1st, 2025, institutes have to apply as per the new format only.
How to make self-study hours term work compulsory for students as these are not part of continuous assessment. How to make self-study hours work compulsory for students as these are not part of continuous assessment. Please don't mix the assessment with the self-study and teamwork, not term work. It is teamwork. So self-study, that means self-study, how do you promote it? You will ask them to, let's say, a topic that is not necessarily included in syllabus, ask them to study something that is available on the web or in some books, references, research papers, and ask them to write a short report. Okay, that will become self-study. Teamwork, you can also, regular part of it, you can give a problem-based assignment or a project-based assignment or some other thing, a large assignment itself, which can be a group assignment, and evaluate. How much weightage you give it to each one of them, that depends on the course-wise and what kind of mechanisms that are operating in the institutes with regard to CIE. For example, if you take CIE, what should it consist of? Most of the places they will have what do you call test 1, test 2, sometimes assignments. Sometimes people don't have any assignments, only 2 tests. And now you can add some activity. There's more items to that. Like a team assignment is one, or self-study. You can add to that and give some weightage to that. That will become part of to address the self-study and teamwork. Do we need to add the self-study hours, teamwork compulsory in all courses? Again, I don't think it will be compulsory. What you have to meet is finally, you have to have 30 hours of activity by the student per 1 credit. You have to account for 90 hours, and 90 hours of activity for a 3 credit course will have to be assessed. How you want to assess, that depends on the institute.
Do we have to produce full set of answer sheets for all students as proof of COPO attainment? Whether we produce them for a team or not, the regulations in general would require you to keep all the records for a certain time. Okay, the university or the institute regulations would require it. So anyway, you'll have to have all these records available, and if the committee asks for it, produce it. Okay, if really it's required. Otherwise, we keep certain samples there, but any record the committee can ask for, and we must be able to produce those records. So
it is also a legal requirement.
Yeah, yes, sir. It's a legal requirement also. So anyway, we have all the records available for certain period. The period changes from university to university, and from legal requirements it will change. But they are all available. So there should not be any difficulty in producing all the records whenever the committee asks for it. Okay, please take them as really legal tenders, as sir is saying. They are valuable. Okay. Yeah, next question, please. For indirect assessment through student feedback on CO is sufficient. In fact, as we mentioned in the course also, for CO, indirect assessment is not a very highly reliable kind of mechanism. But yes, if you are interested, you can do that using a 5-point scale grading or whatever you wish to have student feedback, but keep the weightage relatively low. We mentioned in the course also that do not give too much weightage to that. Whereas for PO and PSO attainment, the indirect assessment does play an important role. But for CO attainment, generally, the weightage given to indirect assessment should be low. Yeah, it is fine. You can do a 5-point scale feedback. No problem. While uploading SAR, do we need to upload the proof for all 3 years or sample is enough? For each year, sample is enough. For two courses, the sample that we are providing is enough generally.
Generally, they'll say one course per semester.
So that much is sufficient. But have all the records available when the team comes for inspection. Upload doesn't have to be a full material. Samples are enough.
Hello. Yeah. As there are no further, there is something that has come. While some more have come. Sudha, can you upload them?
While applying for reaccreditation, when we need to submit the SAR and compliance report, yeah, the NBA itself will define how much time window is available for all that. So that keeps changing. So as per the current regulations, whatever is the valid, that you'll have to do. Okay.
Sir, excuse me.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I have opened the NBA site and there it is mentioned a new self-assessment report, UG Tier 2 engineering programs. In that 4 points are given. In the third point, it is told institutions wishing to submit fresh applications will have an option to do so either in the existing SAR format, June 2015 document, or new SAR format, January 2025 document, till 30th June 2025.
This is Tier 2, is it?
Yeah, Tier 2.
Sorry, I was talking only of Tier 1. I'm really sorry. There is some kind of misunderstanding. I was talking of Tier 1. Tier 1 has been upgraded, and if you see the NBA document, website, and go to the document section, the SCR for Tier 1 is new. Whereas if you see the document for Tier 2, it's not new. It's not marked as new.
It is still to be.
The flash new appears only for Tier 1 if you see.
Okay.
Correct, sir? It is only for Tier 1. So that is why this January 1st mandatory stuff is only for Tier 1. Because Tier 2 actually the revised one has not yet come out. It is in the final stages, but really the new document has to come. Probably in a few weeks it will come out. Then that also will become flashed as the new document. Then they may put appropriate timings. That is why they have given this flexibility of June for Tier 2, not for Tier 1. Okay. I hope that's clear, sir.
Yeah, next one is teaching learning methods like peer-to-peer learning. Only, only reports are sufficient or any other supporting. See, this is as you yourself have stated, it is a teaching learning method. Okay. What happens is finally your assessment is already fixed. You have CIE, SCE, what kind of examinations are conducted. For example, does your institute really permit a oral interview to be included? Not necessarily, because it will become too difficult. So peer-to-peer learning is a method of learning. If you find it useful, use it and record it that you have done this, and you maybe whatever proof that you can produce by way of saying, yes, this has enhanced, but that will become a completely different one. It is up to you to show that it was found useful and you've been practicing it. That's all.
Yeah, during cluster, sorry, sir.
Okay, go ahead, please.
During cluster formation, students and staff of related departments are considered. For SFR calculation, staff of relative departments must be considered, or the entire student strength of related should also be included. This is a new feature of cluster formations. So the SCR needs to be studied a little bit more carefully before I can definitely say that. But it does look like at first glance that the entire student strength of the cluster department should be included. Because what they have done is that for any given department, for which the program for which we are seeking accreditation, we are supposed to give the list of all cluster departments. So it does look like that, but I would like to defer that be, before we study in depth what the implication is and look at an example also, if possible. Okay. Sir, would like to add anything?
No. I don't know, this cluster is within the same institute or?
No, same institute, sir, same institute. Now, what happens is,
Okay.
for example, in computer science engineering, in some universities, there are something like 15, 14 branches, like AI and ML, computer science, AI, computer science, ML, computer science, AI, ML, and decision support systems like that. There are 15 separate programs. Each is a distinct program because a separate degree is given. But obviously, many of the courses are all common courses, and often the enrollment numbers are such that there is one faculty teaching that. So what really is happening is that this clustering within the institute has become now quite prevalent. So the new SAR does allow you to specify for the department whose program is being sought, accreditation is sought for, to list what are the related departments or cluster departments. And these calculations are all based on that kind of cluster sharing of the resources across the cluster. But those things need to be really studied a little bit in depth. Honestly, let me admit that still I have not gone through fully the implications of it. What does it mean? But at the first glance, it did appear that all these numbers are added together. But I would like to still hold my final word on that.
Okay, if there are no further queries or questions on this, we thank you very much for participating, and I hope whatever responses we have given, they are useful to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your participation. As Sir has said, I hope you benefited from this interaction. We enjoyed the interaction. Thank you for your very lively questions. And obviously, this is a time where a lot of transitions are happening. So there are a lot more queries, I am sure. We'll hope to get to them during our next interactive session. Once again, happy learning and thank you all.